Have you yourselves published the results of your study?
Yes, yeah.
So where can we find them all?
They're in one of the slides,
Okay.
but yeah. They're also in a book chapter being published by Routledge later in the year, so you get a plug in for that as well.
Elizabeth, I think there's somebody behind you, Elizabeth.
Hi, just a question for Terry and Kieran. I haven't read your paper, but I'm just wondering, have you compared, I know it's specifically for Ireland that you were looking at, but have you compared the rates of publication of other LIS professionals in other parts of the world? Or?
The simple answer is no, but I mean there's huge scope for further research.
Yeah, sorry, and thanks. And you mentioned that this was, I think it was Kieran said, this is the start of a study of gathering data. Are you going to do a longitudinal study on this?
Yeah, that's a good question. We are intending to do some follow-on research in 2018 because that, given a couple of years from the original research. I'm not going to commit to a longitudinal study now because who knows what's going to happen. But that would be the ideal scenario. Yeah. Kieran may have another view on that.
And also as well, I suppose my opinion on it is that I think what we'd like to do is start the debate, get people talking about this, get people looking, as Terry said, looking at the librarian as not just being supporting research, but actually actively engaging in research. So maybe there'll be others amongst here at the conference that'll be interested in getting involved as well. We'd be open to trying to get a clearer insight into what Irish academic libraries are publishing. So yeah.
Okay. Simon Baines, University of Manchester. Another one on the publishing investigation. I didn't see on your list of reasons not to publish seeking alternative publishing routes. So it strikes me that a number of people I know who may have written scholarly papers in the past are now blogging. And as a result of that, the impact, I suspect, is wider. More people are reading those blogs than might have read scholarly papers. I wonder if you've got any comments on that.
Yeah, I mean, we would try and acknowledge that there are many forms of research activity. I suppose for the purposes of our research, we chose a set of specific parameters, but we would acknowledge that blogging and other forms of research activity are equally valuable, and in some cases, obviously a different approach. But we weren't putting a value on one over the other. There's no doubt there's a spectrum of types of research activity, and that's another aspect, where there's future possibilities for research. But we tried to keep it very, very focused. In terms of people's motivations, that was an open-ended question, so we didn't give any direction whatsoever to people in terms of how they answer that question. So we themed them together based on the results, but that's an aspect we may look at in future studies as well. But it's a good question. Yeah.
Thank you.
Hello. A quick question for Joseph. Have you looked at the accuracy of Google Analytics plugins?
No, I haven't because it's a black box. But at the same time, I do know, I have done a little bit of research on it. Google uses the ABC list, if you know that. It's for advertisers, online advertisers. In Google Analytics, you can tick a box that says filter robots. That means you're using the ABC list. But the problem with lists is that the robots are evolving and changing much more quickly than the lists can be kept up to date. And I do know there's actually a dearth of research on this, and a lot of it is commercial proprietary secret. People, third-party providers don't want to talk about their methods. That's their unique selling points. But what you do get is a lot of sysadmins talking online on forums, and what I've learned about Google Analytics is it is dogged with the same problems. You do get the odd outlier, shall we say. And sysadmins also do manual cleaning of Google Analytics data. It's not the silver bullet.
Yeah, thanks. Just a comment that I think the measuring the downloads and the access is really it's key. As we're trying to promote and to demonstrate the usage of these repositories. Yeah. So.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah.
Hi, I just have a question for Marta and Lucy. That was great. I'm just wondering, is your cataloguing tool, is it open source? Like, would you be happy for other institutions to
At the moment, it's not completely finished. We hope to continue developing it, and I suppose we'd see from there, but I'd imagine we'd consider that. But yeah, there's still a bit to go in terms of making it available for someone else to use, especially because it's quite bespoke to DRIS at the moment. So we'd need to do a bit of work in considering how other libraries could make use of it as well.
Joseph, just in relation to your talk, I really enjoyed it, but with the purpose of the robots or the crawlers, like what are they actually doing? Is that just when you search in Google and then it gives you that result, or is that like data mining, or I just don't know?
Yeah, well, if you imagine on your PC you write a program that and you seed it, you give it a document, you say here's a seed document, and this has got a list of links, so that's your seed document. The program then reads each link and then goes to that website and downloads everything it finds on that website, and it follows every link, and then it basically spreads out and crawls the web. And you can limit it to certain types, and you can aim it and things like that. So what it is doing is literally going to websites and downloading things, either to harvest it into their own database or index it as Google does. So then when you're searching Google, you're searching an index copy of your resources. So it literally looks like downloads.
Thank you.
I hope that makes sense.
Thank you. Well, just one more question there.
Question for Lucy and Marta this time. Again, it's really wonderful to see, in sort of a cataloging tool that's custom designed with the needs of catalogers in mind. But in terms of having a product that's being used, and I'm just wondering about the sustainability of it. So following on from a previous question, does this require kind of constant technical support, or is it? So I'm just wondering in terms of scaling it up in a production environment, if you've given any thought to it.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, I mean, remember that this is a research. From our point of view, from the Adapt Centre's point of view, it's research, because what we're actually interested in is the user engagement piece, right? As librarians, as catalogers in Marta's case, what will be helpful, because linked data, for example, in our case, we're interested in linked data and user engagement. How do you, in fact, try and abstract some of that away so that you don't have to be, have the full Sparkle query and all of that interface? So we're really interested in the actual engagement of the person with the back end, if you like, of the software. So from a research project point of view, it was very successful. Actually, Lucy's PhD is going to carry on, not necessarily with respect to this interface, but actually in terms of engagement and that whole engagement piece of how you engage people with technologies like linked data, etc. In terms of actually taking this piece of research and then rolling it out perhaps into a product or whatever. One thing that's interesting about centres like the Adapt Centre, and there's Insight and other centres in Ireland, is they also have that spin-out capability, right? So that actually part of its remit is not only to do the research side, but also where it makes sense to actually take software and research results and to actually commercialise it and to bring it forward. So if, in fact, people in the room said, well, actually, this is really a really interesting piece of software or interface, a more flexible interface, etc., for things like cataloguing, then please talk to me, because I think there is a way that we can, it's part of our remit as part of the research centre, to not only do the basic advancing the state of the art in our discipline of computer science, but also to really take our research results and bring it out, whether that's impact through traditional scholarly outputs in journals, etc., or whether it's actually through tools that we can bring forward. Part of the Lab Centre, we have a team of professional programmers, for example, where we do this, where we take ideas and we work with industry and we bring our research and bring it out. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you. So
sorry for jumping in there.
But Christoph, I was also going to say, from the point of view of DRIS, the engagement is always on the basis that we are providing an opportunity for research. We know full well that we're not going to get a finished product, but we are allowing the engagement between the computer science researchers and our data and ourselves. So it's always at that level. We don't think in terms of we're going to get a finished product out of that.
Okay, thanks very much. I think there's one last question over here.
I have a question for Joseph. Just wonder, you mentioned in your talk that usage statistics are very important for you in UCD. And I was just wondering, I suppose, if your pursuit of robots and filtering them out was sparked by your community, you know, kind of querying the usage statistics that you were providing to them, or is it just your own pursuit of excellence?
Yes, absolutely. No, I not directly, but there is a kind of a vulnerability when you're standing in front of a group of the smartest people in the world, and they know a bit about computer science and quantitative, research. So when occasionally people will ask, but it's surprising how little people know about this, even in computer science. There's assumptions made that this isn't a problem, but even in computer science. But yeah, generally, just so that I can stand by the numbers that I'm putting up on the screen, more than anything.